Today we shift gears with one of the most acclaimed South African singers and songwriters who's celebrated for his soulful vocals and his love for storytelling through his music. That's just two of many other reasons why people love him. This musician broke out back in 2016 with his EP, Liminal Sketches. His latest offering, You Live On, debuts today and is said to be a dedication to someone who's had a special place in Langa Mavuso's heart, but is no longer physically present. We'll speak about that in just a moment, but let's speak to the singer and songwriter himself, Langa Mavuso, joining us in studio this Friday morning, lifting the energy in the room. Thanks for popping by. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. You made me wake up early today.
Yeah, well, welcome to my world. You know, this is what we do most of the time. You know, and different musicians, I think, evoke different things for different people. When I hear Langa Mavuso, I'm taken back to April 2017.
Okay.
UCT Live Room.
Oh, wow.
As it were.
Wow.
Sunday Blues for many people.
That was such a long time ago.
We do our homework. We know you. We know you very well.
Yeah.
I mean, let's go back to that place. You know, for many people, I think that's when they kind of sat up straight and thought, who is this guy? Yeah. When you think about Langa then and Langa today, did you ever imagine this is what the journey would look like?
Absolutely, and I think that Langa's dreams are still coming to fruition slowly but surely. Yeah. During my time at UCT when I was studying jazz, I had big dreams, and I continue to have big dreams. And when that kind of blew up and got me signed and got me recognized by people, I was really just grateful that I was in a place where I could feel like I could start sharing my own art and my own music, because at that time and place we were doing a lot of corporates and singing a lot of covers. You know, I was in a band with Zoe Mudicha and Manana called Soul Sessions. Wow. And we were all UCT students studying jazz, and we used to do a lot of corporates, and I got so sick of singing other people's songs. Yeah. I started writing my own songs, and I wanted to share my own story. And so when it was received well, I was just like, oh my God, I hope I can do more and more and more and more, and just be great. That's the goal, you know.
Mission accomplished, I can tell you that much.
Not yet.
We're well on our way. Let's reckon on that. I mean, what on earth were they feeding you guys at UCT School of Music? I mean, you, Zoe Mudicha, and you say that as a throwaway line. I was just chilling with Zoe Mudicha. And
I grew up with her, you know.
Really?
Yeah, we went to high school together and varsity together.
Teach us your ways, guys. There's clearly a cultivation within this. And we'll speak about, because I know there's a performance tomorrow.
Absolutely.
With Zoe as well. But Mr. Manana, I think, also won a Grammy recently.
Yes, he did.
So people performing amazingly well.
And in fact, he's a co-writer on this new record that I've just done. I called him up and I said, hey man, I'm trying to write this song. The words are here, but the melody, I'm not too sure about it. Right. And I gave him some of the words, and we sat down and we had a conversation as friends, and we shared, and he said, what do you want to say? And we went through the process of writing the song, and he's been an integral part of creating the music for this next album. So it's been beautiful. Yeah,
it certainly has. And I wonder how much of yourself you allow into the music, because it's actually, you know, vulnerability is hard.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, people take it for granted whenever it feels like somebody has poured their heart out into certain music. It can't be easy. But you seem to do that a lot and do it well.
Maybe I like to overshare, I think. I find that the easiest place for me to deal with the things that I'm going through or have been through is through the music. And I always feel like the listener can hear if I'm lying. And so I can never put out anything that doesn't feel like the truth. And I can never avoid something that I know has to come out. And so even if it's uncomfortable, I'll do it. Like, writing and putting out the song has been a little daunting for me because it's so personal and it's so vulnerable. But I know that the importance of sharing my healing journey and my acceptance of grief and of loss and finding the peace and acceptance that comes after that, I know that other people need that. And I know that music has the power to connect people, it has the power to heal people, to cultivate a space of love and just goodness and light. And so I think that's where the gift resonates with me the most.
Yeah, absolutely. You're referencing, of course, You Live On, which has just recently come out. I mentioned that it's about a special person, and I'm sure we can go there now. Tell us who it's about, and then we'll speak about the many, I think, beautiful themes that come up in the music itself.
Yeah, so my partner passed away earlier on this year, and it was quite a challenging thing for me to go through. And so that was what inspired the song. But I think more than anything, it was also just about talking about all the different kinds of people that I've lost over time, and how I remember them and how their spirit lives on with me every single day. So that's why I kind of reference the spaces, the smiles, the laughter that reminds me of them in every single moment that I miss them, because they live on through the memories, you know, and so that's what it's about.
Sure. And that's the thing about grief, isn't it? It moves in its own ways at its own time, and it's something that we all eventually are going to experience. But in a very weird way, it's still something we're very scared to speak about, right? It almost feels like people suggest to you there's a time period. You know, it happened earlier this year. Why are you singing about it now? But that's obviously not how.
Because I'm ready. You know what it is? For me, it was just like, I'm one of those people who've dealt with so much grief in their life that I think I've gotten a hold of it, and in terms of how to deal with it. And I had gotten to a place through therapy, through family, through friends, that support system, to be able to accept it, and to be able to engage with it quite head on. You know, there was no avoidance in terms of my journey through it, and so that's why it's quite comfortable for me to say that I'm in a better place, I'm happy. And it's because I chose that for myself. I chose to give myself the space to have quiet.
Right.
And to sit and cry and be alone and go through it and speak to people and go through processes that allow me to deal with it. And then once I woke up from that, I was like, I'm ready. I've been through a period before where it took way longer, and I felt like I lost so much from those years, spending them in sadness. And so this time I wanted to celebrate and have acceptance, you know. And so that's what the song's about as well. It's about acceptance of that loss and releasing those people to say, I'll remember you always and I love you always.
Right. Yeah. This idea that, in fact, they haven't died because they've lived on through you.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
You know, you remind me of a tweet I saw, it must have been this week actually, where somebody said, you know, nothing has prepared us for the grief we'd experience in our 20s, as if there's a time for this, right? But I wonder how you can say it's molded you because it's happened so early, right? In an ideal world, these are things you'd only have to deal with once you figured yourself out, figured life out, but obviously things don't always work out that way.
Yeah. I think for me, because I had gone through it whilst I was very young, you know, my grandmother's someone who was very important to me when I was younger. My mother's sisters, who I also lost when I was very young, and who are a very integral part of my life. That really allowed me to go through the different phases and experiences of grief, and that's taught me how to deal with it now differently. And maybe my strength comes from that, but I also allow myself to be weak when I feel like I need to. Yeah.
That's very important. And hopefully it doesn't happen when you need to be on stage, which is what's going to happen tomorrow.
No, not at all.
Because, I think, but I suppose you'd work it into your music because your music allows you to be cathartic in that way, right?
I think we've had incredible stage moments this year. I just got off the tour with Boys to Men. I did Tamia earlier on in the year.
Nice.
I did Joy of Jazz. And I think for each and every one of those performances, the reviews were quite stellar. And I think that for me, being on the stage, the love and comfort that comes from the people watching I can feel it, you know? And so being on stage is fun for me. It's a happy place for me. And so I'm excited to go back onto the stage tomorrow with Zoe Muticha, Simpiwe Dana, Something Soweto, and Mandisi Yankees at Carnival City. It's going to be a really special performance because I feel like soul and R&B artists don't often come together to have that kind of thing. It's often the hip-hop or the amapiano kind of artists who come together and create those kinds of festivals. So I hope it's the beginning of something that will grow and we can see more of it emerge in this genre.
And I think so many people will be excited to know that you and Zoe actually have a personal relationship outside the music, because in our world, your bodies of work are married, you know. Wow. We see these things side by side as opposed to completely different entities. If I'm in a Zoe mood, I'm likely to be in the Langa Mavuso mood, and I'm likely to be in the Mandisi Janki mood.
She's incredible,
as are you. And, you know, how much of that kind of cross-pollination happens even in your music-making process, do you reckon? You know, I'm sure there are...
There's so much of it.
Yeah, a lot of inspiration.
There's so much of it. I think that a lot of my friends... So Zoe and I met at the National School of the Arts when we went to high school. So we were little 13, 14-year-olds. Walking into the streets of Braamfontein, going to art school, excited. And so most of our friends are creatives, and when we do create, we often share with one another, we often listen to one another and contribute. You know, Zoe, Manana, Bulani Mafatse, so many different friends of mine have contributed, have edited, have helped me through the process of writing, of recording, and so I think I have so many people who allow me. Music is collaborative. I don't think there's ever any song that really is singular, because there's a producer, there's an engineer, there might be a co-writer, and so in every single thing that we do in music, it's always a collaboration. You know, even when it comes to putting out the image or the story, there's a photographer, and there's different elements that come together in order to make this singular thing, you know. So I think there's a whole lot of cross-pollination and receiving and giving of information that happens amongst creatives in general.
Yeah, which is great, you know. We've had, I think, the real pleasure of speaking to Mandisi and Zoe here on the show.
Beautiful.
And in both their works, there is kind of social commentary that comes through. I don't know if it's intentional or it just happens, or there's a young activist in both of them, you know. But I wonder if you ever feel pressure to have a message about society, or if, as far as you're concerned, it's a much more personal, cathartic experience that you hope resonates with whoever is going through similar things.
I think for me, a lot of my work is centered around love, and even when we did write the song "I Wish" with Zoe and Manana, where they on my last album, where we speak about the issues in the world that pertain to sexuality and race and politics, it was really about reminding people to love one another and that it's important to do better and not wish that they could be better. It's important to stand up and make sure that we're contributing and we're active citizens of the world, and not just sitting back and waiting for people to do things for us. And so I think that the personal is political, and so living out my life is the way that I share that kind of social commentary or activism. I mean, I think the work that I've done with Levi's, the work that I've done with Coca-Cola in terms of the LGBTQI community is where I really focus my work in terms of activism. Working with the Tammy Dish Foundation as well, that's where I really have gotten my hands dirty in terms of being loud and proud about that.
And we hear you loud and clear, let me tell you that much. The person who said this, the name escapes me, but somebody said that when you're vulnerable, you give other people the opportunity, you empower them to do the same. And I think if that is anything to go by, your work will resonate with many people for years to come.
Thank you.
Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank
Appreciate
you
your popping by. Langa Mavuso, singer-songwriter with a new song out today, You Live On. And of course, is performing in Johannesburg as well. Tomorrow, I suppose the details on your socials.
Yeah.
There you go. See, I put you on. Thanks for popping by.
Thank you.